I'm Dr. Richa Kapoor Mehra. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Mishra for giving me this opportunity to present and talk about Jiddu Krishnamurti. I also would like to extend my gratitude to ICPR, JNU and Rishi Hood University. Today is a very special day for me because as an alumni of JNU, coming back to JNU and talking about things, it is giving me a very nostalgic feeling today. So without taking much time, because it's already 1 and I can presume that many of you might be hungry. So I'll try to bring clarity as much as I could and so let's start with this. Beyond boundaries, Jiddu Krishnamurti's, just a sec, yeah. So beyond boundaries, Jiddu Krishnamurti's philosophy of freedom. So the flow of my presentation would be, I will give a brief account of biography of Jiddu Krishnamurti, followed by what methodology he followed in his philosophical writings, the problem which he was, the problem which he was addressing in most of his writings, and what solution he came up with. I'll be talking about that. His notion of freedom, following, he has given a very different understanding of freedom that will be taken up, and how he has condemned the existing notion of freedom and given his own perspective on freedom, and then conclusion. A quick biography. Jiddu Krishnamurti was born on 11th May 1895 in Madapalle, a small town in South India. For nearly 60 years until his death, he travelled throughout the world talking to large audiences and to individuals about the need for a radical change in mankind. So as you can sense from here, the method which he followed in his philosophical teachings is basically a dialectical method, where his method was to discuss about things, discuss about problems and know insights from people, and basically the agenda was to make people think. So rather than imposing things, making them realize that what is problematic, why things are going the way they are going, to bring that radical change in mankind. This is what he was addressing at. He did not explode any philosophy or religion, but rather talked of the things that concern all of us in our everyday life. So one can say that his philosophy was more pragmatic in nature, because it was his philosophical writings, his philosophical quest was to know the existence of beings. So to know the existence, of course not to impose, as I already said, to know from others, to make them realize that what is going on, what is the relevance of existence, what are those notions, what is love, what is relationship, what is freedom, and so on and so forth. So as I said, method was mainly talks, discussions are based on non-traditional based knowledge, because as you know, previous lecture series and this previous speakers have been talking about, that there is a need for transformation, and transformation cannot take place until unless we relook and revisit the traditional epistemological approach which we have been dealing with. So his own insights into human mind. He belonged to no religious organization, and that is personally, I mean, this is my personal opinion. This is one thing which I really, this is the reason why I chose this topic on speaking on Jiddu Krishnamurti, because after giving so many ideologies, so many point of views, he never was in favor of organizing a different form of religion or giving it a different sect in the form of ideologies, because he believed that if this is going to happen, automatically there will be division in society, which he never wanted, right? So rather than harmonizing people, making them coming together, he had a different belief that religion also, I mean, I'm not saying that it always, but when religion is looked from a different wrong lens, it may lead to division in society. That was his point of view. These factors divide human beings and create conflicts. So religion can also, as we have been witnessing around us globally, if we see that, religion has a very important role. At the same time, if it is not understood in the real sense, if one do not realize the real essence of any religion for that matter, it may also become the reason of conflict. So that was the reason he did not categorize himself to a particular sect, religion, or for that matter even organization. So this was the problem which he was primarily, especially in his work. Though I would also like to emphasize on one important aspect. You will find, if you go through his series of talks which are available and discussions, the topics which he talked on, like on love and loneliness, on freedom, or on self knowledge. So you'll find interconnectedness. So if you want to actually explore his point of view, don't rely on a particular article or discussion which is available, because notions are, the concepts are interrelated in philosophy. And in general, he is addressing this problem, which is the present condition of man and the world. So we all know that at individual level, and as you know, professors have been talking about it in beginning lectures also, we have individual level, because we have our own existence, right, which may at times give rise to stress, anxiety, fear. There may be a constant rush, and we in this 21st century, we all face this problem, right, because when we introspect, or when we reflect on our daily routine, be mindful about it, we realize that the day has gone with full of stress, anxiety, this and that. And there is also social level, right? We can, because we are part here, we are sitting here in this room. So, and we are coming in group, that is what I am trying to say. So at social level, you know that there are different challenges. If we go out, see things, witness many problems, violence, conflicts, environmental changes. So these are the problems which he was bothered with and tried to address. So what approach he is giving? His approach is a holistic understanding. So as I said, because he focused on holistic understanding, so when I'm saying holistic understanding, let me clarify one point. He is not only talking about holistic understanding of individual, rather he is also talking about holistic understanding from social level, right. So from both the levels we are going to analyze it. At individual level, which we all know that our human being, see, in a very generic nature, I am telling you that we have a body and we have mind, right? Mind, soul, there are very, so generic term can be maybe soul, right? Soul or mind, intellect. So I am using this from dualistic perspective, talking about mind and talking about body. So there is always a conflict which goes on within an individual, right. So there is a requirement to harmonize this internal conflict which may arise. So what these modern Indian thinkers mainly they emphasize, and still we are revisiting those works, because there is a requirement to harmonize something, some sort of conflict that goes on within ourselves, right. So these thinkers in general, they came up with different methodologies to give a holistic approach to individual, to calm one's mind and to synchronize mind with actions. Okay. So his dialogues and writings comprises of concepts like freedom, love, truth, hatred, meditation, time, etc. For him, these concepts are interrelated, interconnected, and cannot be studied in isolation. He pointed out, unless there is a transformation at individual level, as I already said, so the prime motive was to bring in transformation at individual level, and once the transformation takes place at individual level, automatically the transformation at social level will take place. So now I am moving towards this common sense, sensical understanding of the term freedom, right. So generally when we make use of the term in linguistics also, we look at the term from two perspectives. So freedom from either, I want freedom from the current system, or I want freedom from my current job, and so on and so forth. Or we look at the notion of freedom from this perspective, that freedom too means that to do whatever I wish to do in life, right? So usually it has been viewed from these perspectives, which Jiddu Krishnamurti in his work has denied this. Denied it, and I'll come to, as you know, I'll move forward, I'll come to in what sense he is uncomfortable with these two conceptual understanding of the term freedom. So usually freedom as an ideal. So the problematic as per Jiddu Krishnamurti is understanding of freedom as an ideal. So freedom is looked upon as an ideal that each one should achieve. People cling to the idea of freedom because they are in a prison, when one is in the grip of desires and mind is conditioned from all sides. So he is trying to say that when we look at freedom from this ideal perspective, there is always an urge to go out and seek something, right? So the action to, so if it is looked at from as an ideal, there is always an urge to reach somewhere. Somewhere means to reach outside. So he is saying that living in such conditions is like living in a prison where conditioning does not allow one to get out of the boundaries. So because you are actually looking at something which is, you know, you are also, he is also claiming that individual is living within the boundaries of his or her own desires and own conditions. So in a way, he is also creating boundaries or barriers around himself. If we look at freedom as a goal, again there is a problem as per him. Jiddu Krishnamurti states that freedom cannot be sought as a global because the moment one set is as a goal, they are distant from it, and there is a division between you and freedom. So division is created because if I am seeking freedom and I am setting freedom as goal, then I am distancing myself from that goal, and because of this gap I will not be able to bridge this gap ever. There will be always constant fight to achieve this goal which is set by me, if I call freedom as goal. To put it in Jiddu Krishnamurti's words, you create or invent that ideal of freedom because you cannot escape from the prison, and prison here is prison of one's own desires. So that, because when we are setting or calling freedom as goal, there is always a constant fight of reaching outwards, and we try to bridge the gap between individual self and this goal, but this bridge is never built, because he is saying, because it is here, it is giving rise to creating own boundaries and restricting ourselves. So I quote here Jiddu Krishnamurti, if you become conscious of that prison. So now rather than for the agenda here is to diverge our focus from outside to inwards. So if you become conscious of that prison, then that awareness destroys the prison. Instead of pursuing freedom, you will know freedom. So knowing freedom, from pursuit of freedom, he is moving towards knowing them. So which means that there is a shift, transformation from looking at freedom as such where it is residing outside, rather than moving towards inside. Freedom as a choice. We often talk of freedom in context with freedom to have a job we like, to do what we like. We also think that freedom is to have multiple choices. For him, having choice points not to freedom but to inner confusion, because it is creating, because he states that because there is a doubt in us whether to choose this or that, because I am not sure about my actions, and that is, and we misinterpret freedom as choice, but whenever there is choice, it reflects disturbance, it reflects confusion, because I am not clear about my own perceptions. Are you getting the point? So when a situation or problem is understood clearly, action immediately follows. There exists no gap between clear perception and action. For example, he quotes this example in one of his talk where he says that suppose hypothetically there is a house is on fire. Do we really make choice when this is the situation? We never, right? We know what has to be done. We have to be prompt in reacting because we are clear in our own perceptions. We know that our perception is clear, and that's the reason we know that the first step is to maybe pour some water or to get rid of fire, right? So this is what he is saying, that if we think that freedom as a choice, it is not really a choice. We only think at it as choice because we are not clear about the notion or the concept freedom itself. All right. So there is no choice in such because the danger of the situation is completely taken in instantaneously. Thus, Jiddu Krishnamurti states that having choices is not freedom at all. So, freedom is not ideal, it is not goal, it is not choice. Let's see what is. So, what is freedom according to Jiddu Krishnamurti? He is talking about complete freedom. Freedom is not about something or from something, but freedom per se. Freedom implies inquiry or to explore deeply by looking inward with patience and alertness. To destroy the cage of control thoughts, he is also, when he is talking about cage, prisons, boundaries, he is talking about conditioned thought, he is talking about control thought. And as we are all very well aware that how our conditioning, our upbringing takes place, right? We are given a baggage of thoughts and ideas. And as we grow, we explore things through education, or we channelize our rationality and we see things, perceive, and then we also revisit those thoughts and beliefs, right? I'm not judging, I'm not asking anyone to judge them right and wrong because it is, according to me, it is subjective in nature. So, I'm no one to judge those things, but he is saying that this cage or control thoughts, one has to break this cage and of our own experiences, and this gives rise to prejudices, biases, and difference in opinions. There should be constant questioning. Out of that questioning deeply comes freedom, not acceptance, not holding on to one's own prejudices, opinions. Awareness of the self is essential for a free mind. So, this awareness can only be possible through introspection, by looking inward, reflecting on one's thoughts and opinions and point of views. So, with this I want to conclude here. There is no fixed path. So, here though, as I said already, Jiddu Krishnamurti, his method of addressing various ideologies was primarily discussion, but he never, because as you can see, he's talking about free mind, but he never gave a particular solution. This comes handy, and then you, if you're following this, you are sorted. No. So it was not his way of explaining. He wanted individuals to explore this because every individual is unique. So few people may follow a different method, few may have their own way to self-reflect, right? As we know that there cannot be one tool or one key which fix and works for all type of locks, right? So external imposition is hindrance to freedom. Self-awareness for complete understanding of the mind and consciousness. Free mind from past conditioning and biasness. This way, one can attain heightened intelligence when the brain is fully active and it is full with energy. So, these are my references, and I could finish in time, in fact, before time if I say.